Externally, they practice the duties of Islamism, although they internally renounce them. They believe in the divinity of Ali, in uncreated light as the principle of all created things, and in the Sikhith Ras ad Dia, the grand prior of the order in Syria, and contemporary with the Grand Master Hassan II, as the last representative of the deity on earth. Footnote: Geschichte der Assassinen, Wood's translation, page 221. The Reverend Mr. Lyde, who traveled among the remains of the sect in 1852, says that they professed to believe in all the prophets, but had a chief respect for Mohammed and his son-in-law Ali, and he speaks of their secret prayers and rites as being too disgusting to be mentioned. Footnote: The Ansari and Ishmaeli, A Visit to the Secret Societies of Northern Syria, by Reverend Samuel Lyde, B.A., London, 1853, page 238. During the Crusades, the Templars entered at various times into amicable arrangements and treaty stipulations with the assassins, in whose territory several of the fortresses of the knights were built, and we may therefore readily believe that at those periods, when war was not raging, there might have been a mutual interchange of courtesies, of visits, and of conferences. Now, the assassins were by no means incapable of communicating some elements of knowledge to their knightly neighbors. The chivalry of that age were not distinguished for learning and knew little more than their profession of arms, while the Syrian infidels had brought from Persia a large portion of the intellectual culture of the Sophies. Von Hammer, whose testimony is given in the face of his adverse prejudices, admits that they produced many treatises on mathematics and law, and he confesses that Hassan, the founder of the sect, possessed a profound knowledge of philosophy and of the mathematical and metaphysical sciences. We cannot, therefore, deny the probability that in the frequent communications with this intellectual as well as warlike tribe, the Templars may have derived some of those doctrines and secret observances which characterize the order on its return from Palestine, and which, distorted and misinterpreted by their enemies, formed the basis of those charges which led to persecution and the eventual extinction of Knight Templarism. Godfrey Higgins, whose speculations are seldom controlled by a discreet judgment, finds a close connection between the Freemasons and the Assassins through the Templars. It is very certain, he says, that the Ishmaelites, or Society of Assassins, is a Mohammedan sect, that it was at once both a military and religious association, like the Templars and Teutonic Knights, and that, like the Jesuits, it had its members scattered over extensive countries. It was a link that connected ancient and modern Freemasonry. Footnote: Anacalypsis 1, 700. And he subsequently asserts that the Templars were nothing but one branch of Masons. Footnote: Anacalypsis 1, 712. And so he goes on speculating that Templarism and Ishmaelism were identical, and Freemasonry sprung from them both, or rather, from the latter through the former. But as Higgins has advanced several other theories of the origin of Masonry, we may let the present one pass. We may be prepared, however, to admit that the Templars possibly modified their secret doctrines under the influence of their friendly conferences with the assassins, without recognizing the further fact that the Templars exercised a similar influence over the Freemasons. I have said that the assassins are supposed to have derived their doctrines from the sect of the Sophies in Persia. Indeed, the Sophies appear to have been the common origin of all the secret societies of Syria, which will account for their general resemblance to each other. In any inquiry, therefore, into the probable or possible connection of Templarism with these societies, Sophism, or the doctrine of the Sophies, will form an interesting element. The sect of the Sophies originated in Persia and was extended over other countries of the East. The name is generally supposed to be derived from the Greek Sophia, wisdom, and they bore also the name of philosophe, which will easily suggest the word philosopher. Dr. Herbelot, however, derived the name from the Persian sauf or soph, wool, because, as he said, the ancient Sophies dressed in woolen garments. The former derivation is, however, the most plausible. Sir John Malcolm, who has given a very good account of them in his History of Persia, says that among them may be counted some of the wisest men of Persia and the East. The Mohammedan Sophies, he says, have endeavored to connect their mystic faith with the doctrine of the Prophet in a manner that will be better shown from von Hammer. That the Gnostic heresy was greatly infused in the system of Sophism is very evident, and at the same time there appears to have been some connection in ideas with the school of Pythagoras. The object of all investigation is the attainment of truth, and the labors of the initiate are symbolically directed to its discovery. In Sophism, there is a system of initiation, which is divided into 4 degrees. In the first, or preparatory degree, the novice is required to observe the rites of the popular religion in its ordinary meaning. In the second degree, called Pale of Sophism, he exchanges these exoteric rites for a spiritual and secret worship. The third degree is called Wisdom, and in this the initiate is supposed to be invested with supernatural knowledge and to have become equal with the angels. The fourth and last degree is called Truth, which the candidate is now supposed to have attained and to have become united with the deity. Sir William Jones has given a summary of their doctrines so far as they have been made known as follows. Nothing exists absolutely but God. The human soul is but an emanation from his essence, and, though temporarily separated from its divine source, will eventually be united with it. From this union the highest happiness will result, and therefore that the chief good of man in this world consists in as perfect a union with the eternal spirit as the encumbrances of flesh will permit. Von Hammer's history of the rise, the progress, and the character of Sophism is more minute, more accurate, and therefore more interesting than that of any other writer. In accepting it for the reader, I shall not hesitate to use and to condense the language of Sloane, the author of the New Curiosities of Literature. The German historian of the Assassins says that a certain house of wisdom was formed in Cairo at the end of the 10th century by the Sultan, which had thus arisen. Under Maimun, the seventh Abbasid Caliph, a certain Abdallah established a secret society and divided his doctrines into 7 degrees, after the system of Pythagoras and the Ionian schools. The last degree inculcated the vanity of all religion and the indifference of actions which are visited by neither future recompense or punishment. He sent missionaries abroad to enlist disciples and to initiate them in the different degrees according to their aptitude. In a short time, Karmath, one of his followers, improved this system. He taught that the Koran was to be interpreted allegorically and, by adopting a system of symbolism, made arbitrary explanations of all the precepts of that book. Prayer, for instance, meant only obedience to a mysterious imam, whom the Ijmaleh said that they were engaged in seeking, and the injunction of almsgiving was explained as the duty of paying him tithes. Fasting was only silence in respect to the secrets of the sect. The more violent followers of Karmath sought to subvert the throne and the religion of Persia, and with this intent made war upon the caliphs, but were conquered and exterminated.